So what are we talking about today with it? You know, it is New Year.
Well, I have like a little bit of a cringe inside of me. No judgment of other people. You know that whole like new year, new me. And I just don't really buy into that, because I think what that means is New Year, set myself up for failure.
Yeah.
Because how can you create a new me just like that? You know,
Yeah.
You can't. I understand it's the intentions behind it, but I don't think New Year, new me. I just think reset and create, you know, new habits or new beginnings, maybe a little bit.
Yeah.
You know, time to start or begin something.
Well, and you know what I'm like, because I sometimes come across as the bolshy one, really. That's probably keeps saying it mildly, isn't it? But yeah, I don't agree with New Year's resolutions, because I think they're a load of shit, really. Because what I think is, you know, doing this job that we've done for years. So we started training back in 2011. And I think you'll remember from that very point, we have been looking at ourselves and like reflecting on ourselves and doing the personal development work, not getting it perfect even today, but doing all of that work since then. So for me, New Year's resolutions are like, so you just choose one day a year where you start all of that work. And actually, really what I'd like people to do is to start to think about, especially listening to these podcasts, think about it like all year round. And that's not to make your life boring or say that you have to constantly think about yourself and what you're changing, but it is to say you don't need to do it once a year. If we do it as we're going all of the time, that has more long-lasting effects, doesn't it? And more kind of realistic opportunities to actually then kind of succeed.
Yeah, and I think now is a good place to start, because it is the beginning of the year and it does make you feel more motivated. But equally as well, when I mentioned about setting yourself up for failure, if you do start now and by the end of January, whatever it is you set yourself, and you don't complete it, just start again then at the end of January. And then if you get to April and you haven't done it, start again then. And it's like always keep starting again, never stop starting again.
Well,
you know?
And I always think that there's two things for me, is that people set goals, but they don't really know the goal behind the goal. So an example that I would give is like when I hadn't lost all of this weight, and I used to think like, I want to be 10 stone 4, I want to be 10 stone 4, I want to be 10 stone 4. And the thing was, is just that I had an image in my head of when I was in my 20s and I was 10 stone 4. And what people don't realise is behind every goal is actually a feeling. So even if now at this age I'd have got to 10 stone 4, it wouldn't have guaranteed that I would have felt happy, because actually the 10 stone 4, it was never about that. It was about the feeling when I was in my 20s. I didn't have children. I was doing X, Y, and Z. And that's no offense. I love having children. But the point is people set unrealistic goals because they don't recognise what's the goal behind the goal. And they kind of try and make it too big. So I want to lose 5 stone by March, you know, that sort of thing. And it's like, well, actually, yes, you might want to lose the 5 stone and you might want to look better. But why? What feeling is that going to generate? What's that going to do for you? And if we think about goals in a little bit more of a deeper way, I think we have more chance of actually achieving them.
No, I completely agree with that. And I think also our goals do need to be realistic, as you say. You know, if you set a goal saying I want to be 10 stone 4, I want to be 10 stone 4, okay, it's about setting that plan in motion. Okay, how do you want to feel when you're 10 stone 4? Because equally as well, some people lose all the weight and don't actually feel.
Well, that's right.
Because they don't put the work in, do they? And this isn't about weight loss, of course. This is about goal setting. But it is about how do you want to feel? How do you feel now? And what is it you've got to put in place to feel that way? As opposed to putting a habit in place mindlessly without intentionally, you know, just having a desire, thinking, I'd love to get that. And that's that. It doesn't work like that, does it? Because ultimately, where you're at right now, it's being created sometimes by an instant, if it's maybe a traumatic event that's led you up to today. But then equally as well, a lot of it mainly is about habits and forming habits in time. And you've got to form those habits in time. There are emotions behind why those habits are in place. And a lot of it is down to like your nervous system and trying to survive. So you've also got to unpick, you know, why am I this way? What is this about? Why are these behaviours happening? And actually, when I'm behaving like that, what am I feeling? What's behind that? Because say it is food, for example. You know, if you're eating and can't stop eating, okay, that's not just about a habit. There's an emotion behind that habit. What is going on? Are you suppressing something? Because ultimately, I imagine that needs unpicking too.
Yeah. And I did a workshop recently that I put on for free for people, which was the Life Wheel workshop, because I know we spoke about this quite frequently. And I was talking through those kind of self-rating. And if you don't do a life inventory, then how do you know what you need to work on? Because I get a lot of clients, I don't know about you, it's a bit different for both of us because we do different jobs. But I think like I get a lot of people who come in and say, I want to work on this. And then a bit further down the line, there's something else that needs the work. And what's happening is we're even avoiding that really important part of our like lives. So it like, you know, so it might be like, I've had clients come in where they want to do the work because they're feeling like stressed or whatever, only to find out they've got like significant problems in their relationship, but they didn't come in asking to work on their relationship. Do you know what I mean? So it's kind of like the goal is often, we're often kind of confused about what we really should be working on. And so the Life Wheel does a really good job of like doing that inventory and going, well, where you're scoring really low, that's where the work is, because actually it's really important that we kind of make the most impact wherever we can. And again, not trying to do too many things, not trying too many goals. You've got to do like one or two. Got to do one or two, haven't you?
100%. And you know what? I as you know, I work in trauma and grief and loss mostly. And I know for a fact that when people come into the therapy room, especially when it's grief and loss, we're going to talk about everything, but the first few sessions will be about that.
Yeah.
But the rest of the sessions are going to be about how they hold their emotions, what's going on in the childhood, what's going on, and it's the ripple effect of that. It's the life and how, because a lot of people, if they haven't experienced, which most people have, but a lot of trauma and you've had like a relatively okay childhood, then you find, and they haven't had many adverse experiences in comparison to others, you tend to find that they are able to navigate their way through grief a little bit more, I'm not comparing it, but a little bit less chaotic, let's say, than somebody who's had lots of adverse experiences, absolutely. Lots of trauma, lots of stress. So equally as well, it's about reflecting upon, right, okay, what's got me to today? And you don't have to go too deep if you're not ready to, and you know it's about doing it, see what's got me to today, and then what is it I need to look at today in order to move forward to create a new tomorrow.
Yeah, absolutely. And I was talking about this because I'm doing a talk in January for an organisation on the menopause and how people kind of experience the menopause and how that CBT had been helpful for that. And I obviously have some different viewpoints on that, in that kind of what I believe is that there's a systemic element to the menopause, that if the menopause was as standard as we were saying, then all women would feel the same. But what's actually happening is that there will be things in people's lives systemically around their relationships, how they relate to other people, how people comfort or support them, their roles, their identity. And for example, like, what does it mean? So meaning making of, if I have brain fog and it really upsets me, that's a symptom. So CBT helps with this, helping you kind of realize it's not your fault. But then actually, what meaning do we make of having brain fog? What do we think about it? Well, we are now insignificant, we're not intelligent, we're going to be looked at differently. That's all systemic. That's got nothing to do with symptomology. That has got to do with feminism and social constructionism around kind of like, how are we set up in this world? And the reason that I'm just using that as the example is because it's just linking to what you're saying is that we have to look at a deeper level and kind of go, yes, I'm experiencing this brain fog in the menopause, just as an example, but actually, how is this being enhanced by my systemic worldview and my meaning making of this situation? And exactly what you said, which is, what is going on here? And when we sit and look deeply about what is going on in our lives, it can be a little bit bleak and it can be really positive, but actually it means that we're living authentically and we can kind of do something about it if we choose to. Because let's face it, we don't have to, do we?
Exactly. No, we don't. And I think as well, like, in terms of, like, say, I'm perimenopausal myself at the moment, and there are lots of things going on in my body that are really unfamiliar to me. I am a very cycle-driven person. I knew my cycle. I knew what I was going to feel from one week to the next. And now, there's no such thing as a 4-week cycle for me. It's changing. And I never know from one week to the next, or one day to the next, some days, how I'm going to feel. But the way in which I approach that is, in the morning when I wake up, I check in with myself. I check in and I say, okay, where's my energy at the moment? What capacity do I have right now? what can I put in place for me today? And I take accountability for that. I don't blame anyone else for it. Yes, there are times when I have a little less patience and I feel bad about it. But
you mean the times when you're being a knob? Is that what you meant to say to the listeners? Hey, I noticed that our last podcast I did a really good job of not swearing too much, and then you brought the C-bomb in and I was made up, and I was like, yes, Sarah did it before me. And your granddad can say, you've got a potty mouth now.
You'd be like, she's rubbing off.
Yes, exactly. Sorry, I interrupted your flow then. This is what happens when you have two ADHD type people doing a podcast, isn't it?
It's good times though, isn't it?
Yeah.
But yeah, do you know what else I have noticed in terms of I'm intentional and I take accountability for myself. But what I do notice is, because I've put the work in for a long time now and reflected on why I am the way I am, what makes me who I am. I now, when I'm triggered, have the capacity and the structures and the systems in place for me to say, try not to be as reactive in this moment. Take yourself off a minute, take a breath, don't project it onto everyone else if you can help it. Far from perfect, might I add. And then I can go and kind of like check in with myself and try and meet my needs a little bit differently. So that's kind of going off what you said. If you are aware of what's going on in your body and you are aware of who you are and why you are the way you are, navigating your way through this can be more empowering. Not easier, because
no,
but it can be more empowering because you don't have to battle as much with the lack of self-esteem, with the not being able to present yourself to the world, those type of things. So you can say, today isn't a good day, I'm not going to present myself to the world today.
And you and the thing is you have done, me and you have both been on very different but similar journeys, and when you talk like that, I admire you, because the fact that you can kind of contain. I'm still very reactive, like I'm very felt straight away, there's a feeling, something's gone on, I have an urgency, like a lot of people, to go, I need to fix this now, I need to have a conversation, and you know what, it's so unhelpful, it really is unhelpful to me, and I don't do it all of the time. But I suppose, like, kind of a lot of people will be like me, where despite all of this work that we do on ourselves, that is one thing that I haven't really been able to kind of master just yet. That if it feels off and I'm feeling off and I'm reflecting on it and I'm thinking it, and then I'm kind of like, I need to move through this, I need to move through it now. And actually sometimes it's other people aren't ready to move through it, and so when I then move through it, I create more dysregulation or difficulty, because actually the person can't respond in a way that I need them to, that's going to be helpful to get me regulated. And I think a lot of women, and probably men as well, but mainly women, experience that, and they end up positioning themselves looking a bit erratic or a bit kind of emotionally unstable at times, because you can't sit with it. So how have you learned that then? How would people go about that? Other people?
Yeah, well, I would definitely say what we need to be mindful of is, in those moments, what we're actually doing is we're emotionally abandoning ourselves to try and fix or find a solution. So in those moments when we are triggered or activated or dysregulated, whatever language you want to use, or in a state of discombobulation, which is
Happy New Year.
When you're in that place where you get that surge of I need to fix this right now, what happens is there's a strong emotion going on, of course. There's an emotional reaction in the body, and what we're trying to do is we're trying to skip the process.
Recording in progress.
So what we're trying to do?
What we're doing is we're emotionally abandoning ourselves. We've never had or been able to hold our emotions inside of ourselves, nurture them for ourselves. Tell ourselves that it is okay to feel this, even though it's not easy. And what we're trying to do is we're trying to rescue ourselves in different ways.
Trying to not feel, trying to get rid of the feeling.
Trying to bypass an emotion, emotionally abandon it. Because what we need to know is, and what we all need to realise is, our emotions can't actually harm us.
No.
We just don't like to feel them, and we're dismissed a lot in childhood. Don't do that, don't feel that, what are you doing? Why are you crying, why are you this, why are you that? So no one has taught us the skills in order to be able to hold the emotions, because if we react all of the time from our emotions, it might not necessarily be the right reaction for us. Sometimes we need time to reflect, because you know, there are things which need to be dealt with there and then, and there are things which you think, actually, I need to sit with that for a moment, and we're not sitting with it. And we need to teach our brains that it can do that, and that we are safe. Yeah. So you have to practice the pause. You have to feel the emotion, and before you react, you have to say, what am I feeling right now in my body? Wow, this is a big one. And you have to kind of nurture that feeling and work through it and breathe through it and know and sit with it and be like, this is unbearable. However... And the thing is as well.
But that's why people then go for the wine or they go for the whatever, because they can't get rid of the feeling, right? And that's also, sorry to interrupt you. I was just going to say, but also I suppose it's worth pointing out there's different scenarios. Like if I was in there's different parts of my life where I would be able to sit with it. And there's different parts of everybody's lives where that's easier, right? But then there's some that are more emotional or difficult or triggering than others. Would that be right?
I would say relationships is the hardest one.
Yeah.
Especially if you're in like a romantic relationship.
Yeah.
I would say that's the hardest time to sit with it for a minute. Yeah. Because you automatically want to go for that person.
Yeah.
And be like,
yeah, or fix it and kind of be reassured. Yeah.
And I don't know if I've said this. So there was a one day for me that really stopped me in my tracks. It was probably about 8 years ago now, and I was in a similar place where I had a lot of challenges going on in my relationship. I was presented with a scenario that I didn't want to be presented with. I'm not going to go into it in loads of detail, but basically my mind was a million miles an hour, and I needed this fixing because I could not sit with this feeling. I was on one. And I was driving, and I suddenly became aware of my thought, and I was like, and I need to say this, and I need to do this, and I need to do that, and what if they say this, and what, right, I'm going to do that. You know, that process you go through, right, I'm not having this, I'm not being treated like this, the usual scenario, I deserve better, all of those thoughts. And then I just thought to myself, I feel worse for having these thoughts. So I pulled over, and I thought, what am I doing? If I go in guns blazing now, the way I'm feeling, this is going to cause chaos. Yeah. And actually, this is going to make things harder for me. Yeah. So why am I abandoning myself by doing this? Because in this moment right now, all I have control of is me, no one else. Yeah. And I can't control the outcome, and I can't control the situation. I can only control me. Yeah. And if I want an outcome that's good for me, I need to look at me. So I pulled over, I stopped, I cried, I labelled and named my emotions. I must have looked like a right one in the car. Yeah. Just in the street. And my emotions, I breathed, and I just sat in the moment, and I was like, you know what, this is really hard. This is really difficult to deal with. And then I thought, you know what, somehow, some way I'll get through this, and I'm going to do it in a way that backs me. No one else.
Yeah.
And I approached it completely differently.
Yeah. It's good to understand, isn't it? Because my big one is like things like work and finances, and obviously running a business. It can be it's really emotional for me, and I never, as a coach, I don't expect clients literally. They come and I work with them, and so there's no expectations on clients. But when I left my job earlier in the year to then do the business full time, what I've found is since then I've been living with a massive level of nervous energy around the unpredictability, and that is why people don't just go and do businesses, because it isn't secure, isn't it? It's a people's business, and I would never force people to work with me, so therefore it's on the basis that people come along. And so what happens is I can be really reactive in those things. And one of the I read a book which was just exactly what you're saying, and I did do things where I'd be like, I'm not paying that bill, so it's have enough money in my bank, and I'd be like, I'm not paying that bill because screw the authorities, they're not taking it from me, do you know what I mean? And then I was reading this book, and it said the problem is that you taking power and control worked as a child, because actually it was something that helped you get through. It was something that helped you. Now what's happening is it's now kind of abandoning yourself. So what it's doing is the only person it's hurting is you, because the utility company doesn't care if you don't pay its bill. It's not an emotion, and you're holding on to this fight and justice, and they're not having it off me. But the only person that you're bothering is yourself, because eventually you're going to have to pay it. but eventually you're going to have to do it. But it's that abandoning self and that high level of emotion that brings all of those things that you're unable to contain at times, or, you know.
100%. And, you know, people say, I just want peace. And actually, the only way to get peace is to find peace within yourself.
Yeah.
And you have to create an environment inside of yourself where when something's coming your way, because it always will, it always does, you're not a victim of circumstances maybe, but you're not a victim because it happens to everyone. And don't get me wrong, some people are worse than others. I can sit there and preach about all of that. However, if you are in a situation, you must first and foremost take a breath, hold the emotion, and kind of say, my body's going to go into survival mode right now, fight, flight, freeze. I need to know that about myself. I need to just breathe and let this moment kind of be what it is. And then wait until I get a bit of a rational brain back. Or if I'm in my rational and I'm bypassing emotion, I need to calm a little bit and get back into my body. Depending on what way you are, get back into my body and handle it in a way that is balanced for me. But first and foremost, for me.
Yes. And I think that, a lot of us, and most of us have not been taught these skills, like most of us. So where we expect people to like grab this out of the sky and kind of go run with it, it's actually really hard, isn't it? And, there's so many things that I can... I know the same with you. We can contain and hold other people's space. The things that I have heard in my practice, my therapy, there's nothing that, that would be too much. But it's interesting, isn't it? Because then when it comes to self, it's that choice around and realizing in the moment when what you're doing is abandoning yourself, which is what you're saying. So the thing for 2026 is going to be like thinking about how do we not abandon ourselves? How do we kind of think in the moment, sit with the emotion, like you say, that actually won't kill us, just feels bad, but then make decisions that help.
If we suppress them long term, it does cause us problems. Do you know what I mean? Sorry.
No, it does. And that's the thing is, and that's what, I'm this thing with the menopause is that what I think, and I believe and stand by this completely, is I do believe in hormones. I'm not disputing that at all. But what I think is from a feminist perspective, women are holding the emotional load. We are holding the practical load like never before. We are repressed often. We don't get to say our truths. And I think almost like menopause gives people, that's the one time we get permission to go, oh, you can be like over emotional now. And there's something really kind of social constructionist for women about emotions and how we've suppressed them over the years and how many women are suppressing them. And then all of a sudden menopause comes, creates all this kind of aggravation with the system, and we find ourselves emotionally letting things out that like we've never let out before. And we kind of say it's the menopause, but I think that that's kind of symptomatic of the menopause, the hormones, but the repression and the suppression of feelings and things that we've not been allowed to feel, or we've had to contain for many years. And I could be, people be listening to this going, no, I know my symptoms are real. I would say they are, I don't deny the symptoms, but what I'm saying is these symptoms are either enhanced or exaggerated for people the more or less they've suppressed emotions or been allowed to say or not say things that, are important.
Yeah. It's not just the symptoms. There's more to it. There's more layers to it. And it's a more of a holistic thing as opposed to it just being down to one thing. And I would definitely say, based off what you were saying then as well, there's a sense for me of, and I find myself saying this quite a lot, and not in all areas of life, but I keep saying, I just don't give a shit anymore. I don't give a shit. I don't give a shit. And there's something quite freeing about that. And what I mean by I don't give a shit is I'm not having a filter anymore. I can't be arsed. And I don't mean, and again, I am filtered in many ways, because I care about me, and I love me, and I am here for me, my emotions. And it sounds selfish, but it's not, because I am here for me. I have more capacity for others. It gives me more energy for other people as well. So when I'm saying for me, it's not I'm cutting the wheels off and I'm going to be selfish. But yeah, there's something around getting to the age of 40 and thinking I'm done filtering, and it is linked to menopause. It is linked to thinking I've got enough to deal with at the moment. So I'm going to filter myself. And I can't be arsed.
So it's a transition, isn't it? And I think I know I brought menopause into it a couple of times. So I think I'm perimenopausal as well. But I think it's this podcast isn't about menopause, but it is about what we're talking about: how people experience their emotions, how we work through them, how we don't abandon ourselves, and how we can kind of think about 2026 as a year of maybe kind of taking some of that back as women, and kind of thinking we don't have to it doesn't have to be that hard. And sometimes we've created situations for ourselves that are hard, but we wouldn't have known or actively created those situations. It just happens. Life just happens. And that's why systemically, lots of people come to me and they find out that something isn't quite right, and they're living in a house they don't want to live in because that's what they're being told that they need to live in, or they have to wait. And I think that happiness is about now, isn't it? And I'm not saying be reckless, but I'm also saying where are we abandoning ourselves, and I think I'll take that for 2026.
And you know what? Just to add on to that as well. Do you remember in our first podcast, and I said I used to always dream about me uncle.
Oh yeah.
Uncle coming to rescue me. Do you remember that?
Yes, I do. It was very funny. Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's a deeper meaning to that, and I always think that when you've experienced childhood trauma and you've not had the nurturing environment in the way that you've needed to, we have this magical thinking. We have a part of ourselves which creates the fairy tale of our dreams and our desires, and we create a part of ourselves that thinks someone's going to come and rescue us. They've got to come and rescue us, and then we go into adulthood not quite understanding that, and we have this belief that we need to be rescued, and that we're a victim of our own lives, and actually, for as long as you feel that something external is going to rescue you, and something good's going to happen to you, hopefully it does. I want that. I'm still waiting for my millionaire uncle.
We're not going to listen to the episode 1 if anyone wants to know all about Sarah and her uncle.
But the point I'm trying to make is actually, as well, to add to that, you've got to rescue yourself.
Yeah.
Because no one's coming.
And sometimes you've got to remember who the fuck you are. All of these amazing things. I can just honestly say these days I think I know I'm a handful, right? But there's so much more to me than being a handful. I'm a very generous, very kind, funny, fun-loving, caring person. And the fact is that, we can abandon ourselves and forget those things, and we just sometimes need to kind of get up in the morning and go, remember who the fuck you are. You are so much more than this emotion or that emotion, and we bring it all, you bring it all together. But Sarah, I think it's easier said than done, but I think that once you get into that space, like you're saying, I think you can't go back. I think once you understand that we can, I say this all the time, don't I? We have more power and control over our lives than we think that we do, that we would ever give ourselves credit for.
Absolutely. And I have supervision, which is what we have in the world of therapy, where once a month we speak about the work we do and stuff. And my therapist always says to me, I mean, obviously I have been married, but still using maiden name in many ways. But she always says to me, if ever I lose my head a little bit, let's say, or forget who I am, she goes, hang on a minute, who are you? Tell me who you are. And I go, Sarah. And she goes, who are you? And I go, Sarah. She goes, Sarah who? And I go, Sarah Baker. And she goes, you're Sarah fucking Baker.
You are.
Sarah fucking Baker.
Yeah.
And sometimes when I'm on my own, I'll joke with myself and look in the mirror, and I'll stand tall and I'll correct my posture and I'll put my hands on my hips and I'll look in the mirror, I'll take a breath and I'll go, right, you're Sarah fucking Baker. Don't forget who you are. And I think it's important to
And you're looking in the mirror going, and that uncle isn't coming to save you. You are Sarah Baker. You save yourself. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's important.
Actually, when your uncle arrives and takes off his helmet, it's you.
Oh, well, I know we're coming to the end of it now, so we want to give some profound advice, but there is something I did want to say to you is they've been through a lot of shit over the years, but somehow they always end up back together. Have I done that one before?
Me and you.
No, you're supposed to say who. I'll start this again. They've been through a lot of shit over the years, but they always end up back together.
Who?
The cheeks of my ass.
Every time you say that, I think of my dad jokes.
I know, but I think, like, I know I've probably said it on the podcast before, but I think we have to end with humour. I think we have to think about this, and I think you're right. We have to stop abandoning ourselves, and we have to see some humour in it, and let 2026 be the year where you choose yourself and stop thinking about selfishness, but also, get some help with it if you need to. Like, it's not supposed to be done on its own, is it? It's not. There's a reason we don't know these things.
We're not designed to be alone, and if you're in a cycle of bad habits and you're not sure how to change them, you created them unconsciously. You need someone to help you support with that, and that's not a way to get come and pay for everything. There's books out there as well that just do something different to what you're currently doing. Yeah,
imperfect action. Doesn't have to be perfect, does it?
No, it doesn't.
So anyway, we are going to be, this is kind of episode 1 of season 2, and I think we're going to be bringing people a little bit more frequency, aren't we? Kind of over the next kind of, that's our commitment, isn't it, for 2026, bringing people. But obviously, if people want to get in touch with us, or they want to do some work with us, they can contact us through Instagram or whatever. But my thing is that that's not necessary. You don't need a coach. You don't necessarily always need a therapist. There's things out there, isn't there, that can help you to kind of get on this journey and just start.
Yeah, sometimes you just have to say to yourself, I am going to commit to this journey somehow, some way, and it will unfold. It doesn't have to be this big, in terms of beginning, it doesn't have to be this big, well-planned, well-thought-out kind of journey. You can just say, do you know what? I'm going to look internally, and I'm going to begin to work on myself to create a better life, because you can create a life you love.
You can.
And sometimes just learning to believe that is the start.
Yeah, that's it. And there's nothing that's insurmountable.
No, exactly that.
So, well, happy New Year to you.
Oh, right back at you.
And I will see you very soon.
All right, kid. Take care of yourself.
Right.
Love you loads.
Love you too. Bye.
Bye.
Recording stopped.
Leave that bit in about the bum cheeks, that made me laugh.
I can't remember. I don't know that I've done it on the podcast before, but for people who haven't listened, it can be a first one. Oh, so there you go. Feel better already.
Yeah, I thought that was a good one.
Yeah, it was a good one.
We say that all the time. We're like, oh my God.
We did.